Welcome, low ego action heroes. This is Debbie Levitt from DeltaCX.com. We're a full service CX and UX agency, and today is episode 133, feature oriented versus task oriented. And as I've been doing with some of these shows, I am reading you my Medium article, but of course, if you are watching live, I am looking for you to react to what I'm saying or ask questions about what I'm saying and make this a little bit more what's the word I'm looking for? Interactive. It's a conversation. So I'm going to open that up. Hi, Aitan, how you doing? And let's see, hi, Madalena, a couple of quick show notes. It looks like because of the courses I'm taking next week, the week of October 18th, 2021, I'm not going to be able to really do any streams. So next week is kind of all canceled, all 5 days, except for my early office hours on Tuesday, which means we'll also be rescheduling Larry Marine's micro lesson to Wednesday the 27th. So I apologize, kind of no streams next week because I'm taking some courses, but if the courses are good, I'll let y'all know in Slack. And you can see if you want to take them too. Hey, we've got a Slack workspace. We now have over 1,000 people there. Super friendly, nice people, though about 100 are active. deltacx.link/join Slack. Also, I'm learning more about the YouTube algorithm, so please press like. You can actually press dislike, and I think that helps. You can usability test the subscribe button. Madalena says, I will miss the Friday reactions. Yeah, me too. But my course runs 5 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. my time, and I always do these at 6:30, so that messes this up. What else can I tell you? Yeah, so algorithm, I've actually learned that super chats and super stickers help, and commenting after the video's over helps. So anything you can do, greatly appreciated. Now let's take a look at my article. I've got it open in a private browser, and let's switch over. That should show you that. Yep. Okay, so this is available on Medium, and we've just rebranded the Delta CX publication today on Medium. Hi, Betty, to R before D. And if you would like to write for R before D, please write something in Medium and add it to the publication Delta CX. Well, it's called it was Delta CX. Now it's called R before D, and we will consider your article. Though I have to say, we're not going to accept everybody. So there you go. Let's talk about feature-oriented versus task-oriented. Most companies are feature-oriented and engineering-driven. The typical process is for some people to decide on which features we should build for our customers. This is often based on surveys or maybe having a look at some customer support complaints. Product decides which features we're building and prioritizes their order. They can then give the marching orders to their UX soldiers who now have their requirements, user stories, or whatever product or business analysts have prepared for them. These documents typically define and prescribe what we're building and in some cases how it'll function and lay out. At some companies, business analysts and product managers are creating wireframes or preliminary sketches. They believe their UX team is there to polish them up and finish them off, treating the UX pros as production designers. Sadly, most UX jobs in 2021 and the past few years have wanted fast-moving Figma, Sketch, Adobe XD, Axure, OmniGraffle, whatever software jockeys who may or may not use any UX process. We too rarely assess UX candidates for UX skill, talent, process, ability, or critical thinking, and I've got some links to earlier articles. Turning UX professionals into production designers has started to destroy the entire UX profession, but this article will focus on the effects being feature-obsessed has on our customers. Shifting towards customer centricity. Transformation towards customer centricity requires us to put aside guesses, assumptions, untested hypotheses, and what we think we know about customers. Instead, we must use research to know. Guesses about customers lead to guesses about features, products, the value of these in the eyes of the customers, and other risky guesses that could end up burning our time, budgets, morale, customer trust, and support resources. As companies shift towards customer centricity, truly listening to customers and putting their needs first, this process will change. Before requirements or user stories are written, Before features are decided, teams will start with CX and UX researchers collecting both qualitative and quantitative data as part of our business and customer intelligence. This research will help us accurately map the true as-is state of customer experiences and journeys. I prefer the task analysis version over a traditional customer journey map since it provides more detail and can lead to finding more product and feature opportunities. We can then have our CX and UX experts map the future state or optimized tasks and journeys. And I've got a picture of my usual task analysis slide. Moving on. And again, this is a conversation. If anybody has thoughts or questions as we go, I see 8 of you live on YouTube. I can't see LinkedIn, but you're watching too. So any thoughts or questions as I go? But we're about 20% in. Customers and users are task-oriented. 100% of customers arrive in our products, services, and experiences with a task in mind. It could be to make a purchase, but it might not. It could be research, comparison, support documents, contacting you, being entertained, or getting something done. These are all tasks, and you're probably the middle of that task. There is something that happens before that triggers the customer to engage with your brand. There is something that happens after they leave your ecosystem. This is why the end-to-end journey or task analysis must include what happens before and after they are in your world. Hi, Charlene. The shift. Most companies are feature-oriented. They do a lot of competitive analysis and want to copy competitors who might also be getting things wrong. Or we brainstorm features around what we think customers might like. As sprint goals often declare, we hope that weeks or months from now, after release, we'll learn if what we built had any customer value. Some companies enjoy trendy shortcuts that promise that you can design products or innovate in days of workshopping. Do the math on what you've spent versus what have you innovated and the ROI, and consider reducing the frequency of those workshops. In these companies, UX is a pair of hands preparing wireframes for the stars of the show, engineering. We act like they're the stars because they often try to drive or control everybody's work and process. But our teams and our entire organization clearly do not respect engineers very much. If we did, we wouldn't waste their time and talents by asking them to build non-vetted feature concepts that might have to be undone or reworked later because the customer found them to have low or no value. Hey, hands up. How many of you have been on a team where while designing or building something, hey, you engineers, you knew it would be garbage for the customer? Why wasn't that process stopped? If Agile and Lean demand that we reduce defects and use the customer's definitions of value and adjust for customer feedback, why aren't we doing that? Why do we let disaster projects continue? If we are task-oriented, that disaster project should never happen. We would have determined way earlier that what has value to customers, tested and iterated on UX prototypes as we went, and avoided building any solution that wasn't vetted with real or archetypal customers. No guessing allowed. Task-oriented means that expertly planned, executed, and analyzed research informs and inspires the entire product and service process. The features that we select and prioritized are based on what we've learned about real customers. We're focused on the customer's tasks, the reasons they use our site, app, services, or systems, and the context around these experiences. Task-oriented means that the earliest planning of a product or service benefits from the business intelligence and risk mitigation that CX and UX research brings. Research is not something we slap on later for a quick test. It's baked into the process from the start. So, in short, feature-oriented organizations start with ideas for features, products, or services. They might have also run a survey that guides them on what they think customers want or need. Teams are grunt workers, building what has mostly or completely already been decided. Critical thinking and trying to warn people about a disaster project are not rewarded, so people learn to shut up and play along. Speed is more important than quality because we can always fix it later. Task-oriented organizations start with qualitative research so that we deeply understand target audiences, systems, contexts, pain points, needs, expectations, habits, workarounds, etc. The insights and opportunities discovered in the research guide the selection and prioritization of features, products, and services. Teams are then critical thinkers who have well understood problems to creatively solve. Quality is more important than speed because we don't want to make mistakes now that will have to be fixed later. So, where do we start? We start with knowledge. Knowledge of customers' decision-making processes, their tasks and workflows, and what they need and expect from us. Many companies miss the trigger that starts the task. Many companies don't bother understanding their target users' decision-making processes. We very often hear pain points, but what do we really know about those pain points? Were those pain points guesses? Do we know why people experience those? Or did we just start guessing at what people might like better? Here's another moment where you see if you're feature-oriented or task-oriented. Solomon, I see your question and I will answer it after I read the article, but it's a good question. We must admit that we have knowledge gaps when we realize that we don't know the who, how, or why around customer pain points and inefficiencies. Task-oriented teams use qualitative research to turn gaps, unknowns, and assumptions into knowledge. Feature-oriented teams often start with quantitative data and guess from there. For example, someone notices a business or marketing problem, such as we're not getting enough conversions, not enough people are buying our stuff, or too few people in the free trial are converting to paying customers. This leads marketers or other staff to imagine how to get people to buy more. Should there be more pop-ups offering 10% off if you join the mailing list? Should there be a banner across the top giving people a discount code or a countdown where they have limited time to use that discount code? Should we A/B test a change to a key funnel page? Maybe make the call to action bigger? Should we A, B, C, D, E test a whole bunch of changes and check which makes us more money? Typically, people are brainstorming ways to persuade or force a customer behavior change without actually making the customer's experiences better. Whether or not customers are happier or getting their tasks done more efficiently, if the quant needle moves, someone declares it fixed, or at least improved. And I link to another earlier article. These teams are rarely saying, it looks like we need to improve our products and services and not just how we sell them on the website. Task-oriented approach to the same problems. If we take a task-oriented approach, then we start with the knowledge of our potential and current customers' actual tasks and workflows, starting with why have they come to our website? It's probably not to join the mailing list. There was something they came to deliberately do here today. There was a trigger, they're here now, and there's something they will need to do after. We can fine-tune our marketing or public website by undertaking qualitative research of customers' processes, workflows, workarounds, blockers, and decision-making criteria, including how budgets are decided and who has final approval. This changes our world from, what do you think we can make people do, into, what have we learned from people, what have we learned, I've got a mistake here. What have we learned about what people want or need to do? And how do we refine what we present or offer to best match and accommodate and enhance that? Now imagine we've done that with our entire website, our SaaS system, product, or service. Imagine that we've understood customers and their steps, tasks, knowledge, tools, workarounds, blockers, and issues with such detail that we can deliberately architect and create what best serves them. This is what customer centricity looks like. Many companies imagine this will cost too much or take too long, but consider the alternative, which is probably what your company has been doing for years. Consider the world in which we keep pumping out new features and updates that are risky guesses. Consider typical sprint goals where we are working on developing something that we believe, believe will have benefit to our customers, but we might learn months from now after release that it needs fixing, reworking, or undoing. Consider the wasted time, money, and disaster projects that our company has swept under the rug by slapping each other on the back about how agile or efficient we were. It's time for accountability for disaster projects. Task-oriented seems scary. Someone will declare it's too slow, expensive, and not agile or lean. But if you understand what agile and lean are aiming for, then you know that task-oriented teams, programs, portfolios, epics, whatever your company does, are really the only way to go. The cost of poor quality, you can Google that, reminds us of the internal and external wastes and costs of products and services that have low or no value to our target customers. Fake agile and fake lean will have to give way to customer centricity. Transforming towards customer centricity will ultimately guide all of our teams and streams. Strategies, goals, initiatives, programs, products, services, features, and how our teams work. We won't applaud fake agile speed over quality approaches any longer. Those who are invested in customer centricity will shift towards task-oriented processes, from strategy and planning down to teams and outputs. If it's outcomes over outputs, then let's start caring about the larger arc of where our outputs and outcomes have gone. Let's be agile and lean by determining root causes and improving our processes. Thank you. Let's see, what do I have to press this button? Thank you for listening to that. We got a couple of thoughts and questions in the chat room, and I'd love to get some more and make this a conversation. So, hey everybody, add yours. And don't forget that we've got some cool stuff you can check in on. deltacx.link will give you our updated calendar. I still have to move Larry's, but that's our updated calendar. Don't forget coaching, since I do coaching. Don't forget the Acture training I'll be doing, deltacx.link/Acture-live. We're also doing a giveaway for the end of the year, deltacx.link/giveaway. It'll be a signed hardcover book from me. And yeah, there's a bunch of other stuff that you can jump on. So, oh, and of course, a quick thanks to all of the people supporting the YouTube channel financially, our low ego action heroes, and then also our mid-level and our very first senior level low ego action heroes. So thank you to our mid-level and higher, Anita, Chang, Darren, Irena, Jordan, Michelle, Nikki, Ralitza, Ray, and Solomon, and our very first senior low ego action hero, Mix Betty. So thank you all for your financial support of the YouTube channel. It's optional but appreciated. Now let's take a look at the questions we have. I didn't turn on my question system, so I'm just going to read them. Solomon says, play along because we can always fix it later. How would you communicate the danger associated with this approach? Now, in reality, many of our team, or not many of them, all of our teams are supposed to be looking at risk. They're supposed to have a risk register where we document our risks. We identify them, we document them, and we take a look at who's going to shepherd this? How are we going to mitigate these risks? What are we going to do if this thing happens in a small way, in a large way? So a lot of teams don't use the risk register or don't document their risk, but you're supposed to. And that's Googleable. You can just Google like risk register. There's samples out there. You know, I don't have to tell you how to do that. But I would say the best way to communicate some of the dangers is to get stuff in the risk register. You can also bring it up in the retro if your company is doing agile and you've got retros. The retro is where we're supposed to talk about things we didn't do that well in the last sprint and could be better. So it could be an opportunity to bring up something that happened in the disaster project or a failure, or wow, everybody thought this looked great in all the agile showcases, but then we actually ran it by some users and holy cats, it's not right at all. Well, time to put that in the risk register and talk about that. So I think that the best thing you can do about risk is talk about it. I find too many companies are sweeping it under the rug. Check with your project manager, your scrum master, your team leader, whoever's the right person at your company to ask, do we have a risk register? Do we keep track of things that make our project or our feature or our product risky for us? Again, it could be customer risk, but really business risk. That's where people care, because we're talking about wasted time, wasted money, wasted customer trust, hurting morale, anything that hurts any of these. Again, look up the Lean Six Sigma cost of poor quality. Anything that could cause the cost of what's in the cost of poor quality. We also did an episode about it last year, so you can go to YouTube and do Delta CX cost of poor quality, and you'll see me and Deborah talking about that. So I think those are some ways that we can communicate those dangers. So thank you, Solomon. I hope that helps. Let me know if you have a follow-up question. Now let's look at Madalena's question. So could we do task-based personas and prioritize the tasks that would be enhanced within a product? I think so, for sure. I mean, remember, the whole idea of the whole task-oriented approach, and a lot of the things we're teaching on this channel with me and with Larry, is to make sure these things are actionable for the next step of our process and future steps of the process. If our personas are not really affecting our content, our information architecture, our interaction designs, they are not meaningful, actionable, or helpful. So I would say, so this says LinkedIn user, I agree on the cost of poor quality. Sorry, it's not giving me your name, but thank you for agreeing. So yes, if you've got meaningful, actionable, helpful, task-based personas, these should be used for all of these purposes. And I think they could be used for the prioritization of different features or user stories, because we would have a good sense of who these target audiences are and what they need or expect from us because of their tasks, because of their roles, because of other things. And so, yes, you could absolutely use that as a factor for your prioritization. That would be a great discussion, of course, with as kind of a triangle with UX, product, and engineering. Engineering can take a look at what's technically feasible. Product can take a look at what matches some of the business strategies and goals we have, though I would like to see business strategies and goals changing in response to what we learn in CX and UX research. But, and then of course the third corner of the triangle is UX or CX, whatever your company is calling that team. Larry says, yes, especially when the rest of the product is task-oriented rather than feature-oriented. Yeah, so it really is important to approach this holistically, I would say. It's hard to do task-oriented in pieces and then do feature-oriented in other pieces. It's kind of like how trying to be kind of waterfall and kind of agile kind of don't work, though I think that's what most people are doing. So yes, make sure that anything you're doing that is task-based is meaningful and actionable and helpful, and you'll know it's task-based, new graphic, because it's really focusing in on people, systems, and context. It's not about fluffy stuff like, do they like Starbucks, or do they have a minivan, or how many kids do they have? It's really about who these people are, the roles that they're playing, or the roles in the moment of their need to live in your system, and the context. I've also made another new graphic I can roll out, which is my end-to-end customer. Don't forget the end-to-end customer. Yeah, Madalena says they're 76% friendly. And I go, yeah, I don't design differently for jerks. So don't forget, when we're thinking the end-to-end customer journey, don't make the mistake of any journey mapping or task analysis or things you do only looking at the time the customer spends in your ecosystem, whether that is an app or a service or something else, a website. Make sure you are looking at that end-to-end journey. What is the trigger or the event or the impetus for them to interact with you or interact with a competitor? I call this orbit. So how are they circling you or searching for you or considering you or weighing you against something else? And then they hopefully end up in your ecosystem. But then there's something that happens after that. There might be a decision. There might be another task or subtask. We can't forget that full journey or task or set of tasks. So Aitan says, what do you mean when you say systems? Okay, so when I say, you mean systems when I say like websites, apps, systems, software, services? If you mean that, I mean, system to me is kind of like a larger version, because sometimes people say, well, our company's more than a website. Our company's more than an app. You know, it's a system. It's SaaS, it's enterprise. You know, to me, I think if I say a word like system, I'm covering a lot more than what sometimes people think the website is just what we show people to sell them on this. And sometimes there's a lot more to a company. Systems versus context. Oh yeah, that guy. Yeah, so really, this is anything that so you've got the people, then you've got the systems, and the systems are really anything that the people can interact with. So is this physical objects? Is this digital interfaces, websites and apps and watches and downloadable things? So what are the systems that the people are interacting with or could be interacting with? And then the context is going to be a lot of that why, what and why and how, and what's bringing people to this. So systems is just kind of a general word. I've also seen this represented as people, props, and processes, but I thought that didn't necessarily cover context as much as I wanted to make sure we're thinking about context. So I would say the systems are kind of the props and the processes. So what are people interfacing with? So for the company you're working for, Aitan, which will remain nameless, you know, this might be the website where people get to know the business. It could be the website where they create their account, or I think you have to reset your password on the website. You can't do it from the downloadable client. You also have a downloadable client. You also have a mobile app. All of these are the systems that people can interact with. Madalena says, like, for example, we know users are extremely likely to access our platform from a desktop or laptop as opposed to mobile. That might be context, Madalena. So the systems are the systems, no matter how people are accessing them. But now we have the context. Under what circumstances do people come to our system or software or whatever from the desktop or laptop? And under what circumstances do they come from mobile? That might be more of that context, and it would probably play into what tasks they're trying to accomplish and how they're trying to accomplish them. I hope that helps. Aitan says, oh, nice. It could include physical products and digital. I like this new visual. Thank you. It's just a variation of the old visuals, but I think that it hopefully makes sense, and it just reminds people, especially when we're doing research, especially for qualitative research, we want to make sure that when we are observing people and speaking to them, that we are getting to know them, the systems and tools and things that they're using, and that context. And of course, if you're doing task analysis, you've got even more you're looking for. Don't forget your tools, knowledge, and workarounds, and your issues, concerns, and obstacles. Any other thoughts or questions? Otherwise, we can call this one a short stream, and I will get back to my adventures. And again, apologies for those of you watching live. Most of next week's streams will have to be canceled because of a course I'm signing up for. But we're rescheduling Larry, who is very sweet, to put up with that. And we will make sure we're talking to him. I'm also going to be scheduling a few more new micro lessons. We've had a request for a micro lesson on being a freelancer or contractor or kind of like running your own agency, and a lot of how-tos around pricing and proposals and dealing with clients and scope creep and all that. So I'm going to schedule that and tell you how I handle those things. I'm probably having to move a lot of these things into November. So if there aren't any other questions, we can certainly end this one early. I'll give you all a minute or two to come up with any questions. Aitan says, I can't believe you're giving all these to us for free. I'll miss our Friday reaction stream. I know, both of you, but again, that course is 5 p.m. my time to 9:30 p.m. my time. So either I have to do it at a really weird, everyone in America is sleeping middle of the daytime, or I have to do it really late my time and people in India will hate me. So yeah, not next week. I might have to take off, and I might have to take off some of the road trip streams as well. Some of you know I'm going to be taking a road trip. in late November into December, and I'm actually going to be coming to see some of you. So hopefully there will be fun pictures to put up of me finally meeting some of you. We're going to meet Stephanie in Luxembourg. We're going to meet Vazia in outside of Amsterdam, in Eindhoven, Netherlands. We're going to see Ralitza again. We're going to be doing 2 days in Disneyland Paris, just me and my boyfriend. If anybody wants to join us, you are absolutely welcome. You just have to pay for yourself. I'm not paying for you, but you can certainly hang out with us in Disneyland Paris if you'd like. Those are the last 2 days in November. So coordinate with me in Slack if you would like to be part of our mainland road trip, because holy cats, we haven't gone anywhere in a while, and we're thinking it might be safe again. Aitan is claiming she's coming too. Yuvra says, oh my God, that end-to-end graphic is perfect. I learned something similar during data viz designing, finding trigger questions and make your users come to your page. Larry says, I'm sorry, I missed your opening dialogue. Did you describe the differences? The differences between what and what, Larry? And Aitan says, I'm looking forward to hearing your opinion on the course you're taking. Yes, I'm taking a course this week, next week, and then also in November. So I'm going to have to shift some shows then too, and then the road trip. So really the end of the year on this channel is going to be a little bit funky and seat of pants, which is why it's going to be best to subscribe and turn on the bell so you will get notified when I'm live, because I'm not even sure when I'm going to be live. So please subscribe on YouTube and ring that bell so that you will know when I am live. I'm subscribed to myself, and that goes off within 40 seconds of when I start. So it really is fast. You will know when I'm live. Larry says, individual instances, like a digital brochure, versus repeated instances of items and objects when a task requires it. I did not, Larry. The beginning of this show was me reading an article I wrote about the differences between being feature-oriented and task-oriented. So I did not get into some of the greater detail that I know you like to get into. I'm sure we'll get into that in some other shows. This was really just me sharing that article, because some people don't make time to read articles, but they make time to listen to this show. And so so that's what today was. So Larry, add it to the list. Madalena says, how do you transition from feature to task while getting buy-in from teams? Yeah, that's hard, because it's funny, in a world that's supposed to be agile, which is supposed to welcome change and welcome teams finding ways to continuously improve, I found that almost nobody wants to change. So again, this is going to be where it's a little bit of a sales job for us to explain how being task-oriented should really be almost an insurance policy against guesses, assumptions, risk, disaster projects, wasted time, wasted money, too much customer support, burned customer trust, angry tweets, etc. So it's, oh, hi, Ray. Good to see you. Ray, I sent you a package. I hope you get it soon. So again, this is not like, there isn't a magic bullet where I say, hey, if you just go say this to someone, you're just gonna change it all. Eventually, teams probably have to hit a breaking point where they're realizing there's so much waste, there's so much guessing, people don't want minimally viable anything, and we're going to have to build what matches the customer. I've seen a lot coming out from Gartner and Forrester, who you may or may not care about, but they're generally respected, and they're saying that customer experience is going to be the #1 way that companies compete against each other in the next 2 years. So I think a shift is coming where companies are going to shift towards customer centricity. And whether or not agile is still the hot thing is left to be seen. But I do believe that we are going to see more of a shift towards customer centricity. I've just written another article today, so we'll be reading it together in the future. And basically, I am saying customer experience, CX, is the table. Oh, thank you, Ray. Thank you so much for the thank you for the Shiba dog clapping hands and the super sticker. Thank you. My article today on Medium says, stop saying we need a seat at the table. Customer experience is the table. And I've made a hashtag for that. Hashtag CX is the table. Stop saying we have to get a seat at the table. This is the table. Everybody else gets a seat at this table. If we don't have a good customer experience, if we haven't optimized our customer experience, what exactly do we have? What do we really have? Congratulations, you were efficient. Congratulations, you moved fast. Now you've got to fix it. Congratulations, it was good enough and someone called it ready and done and you shipped it. If customer experience is the table, everyone is going to sit at that table. It's not engineering's table. What is the one thing where if our company got it super wrong, everything breaks down? The customer experience. That's all we've got. That's what we're selling people. That's it. CX is the table, y'all. Larry says teams are so used to the feature-oriented approach that they can't imagine any other way of doing it until they see a task-oriented approach in action. Then they have the aha moment. Yes, I think so. Grace says Debbie is the table. Please do not pull up a chair at me. My ass is not that fat. I'm working on it, y'all. But yes, so I'm not the table. CX is the table, or UX is the table. But really, the customer's experience, the user's experience, the human's experience, the consumer's experience, I really don't care what word you put on it. That is the table, and everybody else is pulling up a chair to that table and figuring out what we do now. So I'm going to read that article in the future, but now you got a preview because you know what happens when I release an article. There's this bald guy with glasses who goes and makes a webinar about it and makes it look like it came from him. So now I'm making sure I publish these things and shout them out early. So when that happens, y'all go, oh, Debbie said that one first. Larry says, isn't CX just having more features than the other guys? Just kidding. No. Betty says, do you find more openness to task-oriented CX at certain sized companies or organizations or certain industries, or is it just situation by situation? I'm finding, and I think Larry has more experience with these types of transformations than I do. So Larry, what can you help Betty on that one? But I think that it has to do with people reaching a breaking point where their problems are growing and their solutions are not solving them. As Larry would say, they're solving the wrong problem very well, and they're looking for what to do instead. And they probably end up bringing in consultants or an agency or consultancy of some sort. They might bring in me or Larry or big name whoever. Some of these big names do the same old thing. They do the feature-oriented stuff. They interview some of the stakeholders. They run some surveys and they go, here's what you need to do. But if they're really taking a good CX and UX approach, then there would be an extensive research operation, qual and quant, interviewing internal people and users and customers at all possible places to learn what the overarching strategy should be. What is the strategy North Star that we can now build strategies, initiatives, goals, products, features around? That's really what needs to happen. And I was recently working for a company in South Africa, and I saw companies in South Africa starting to do this more. They were starting to get that CX wasn't just marketing. It wasn't just make your call center better. CX really was, how do we find our North Star strategy and then rally all of the teams and divisions and different appendages around it? So that was South Africa. And I think they're ahead of other countries on this, and good for them. Right now, mostly when I see CX coming out of America, people think it's marketing and your call center, and that the customer experience is really about better customer support and marketing to people more efficiently and getting them to leave you better satisfaction scores. And I think America's behind on this one. So I think we'll see a shift over the next 2 years there. Aitan says, Ray made a donation. Why didn't it explode? It did explode. You missed it. I can try to replay it. Hold on. Let's see if I can replay it. No, I replayed the emojis, but not the donation. So sorry. Larry says company culture is the biggest oh, it's still replaying. Maybe it'll pop. Company culture is the bigger factor in accepting task-oriented approaches. Yeah, again, do we want change? Do we want improvement? Or do we want the status quo? So let's see. And then Wilson says, how do you change the culture? That's hard. We rarely have the authority to change a company's culture. That often takes firing a lot of people and starting over. Larry says, I like to keep the team in the loop and slowly walk them through the baby steps instead of waiting until the end to show them the result. I agree too. I say, even in my book, I say, UX peeps, we have to start showing people everything we do as we do it, not for their approval, but so that they see more than boxes and arrows, that they see more than sketches, more than Figma. We've got to show them everything we're doing at every step. Even if it's in a 15-minute meeting. Hey, come for 15 minutes. Let me show you this thing that we worked on. Doesn't have to be an hour. Save people's time. Hey, any other thoughts, questions? This is a great conversation. Thanks, everybody. And I think we might be delayed only 30 or 40 seconds, so it feels almost live. Let's see. Wilson says, Larry, how do you keep them in the loop? Meetings, collaboration? For me, it's usually probably a little bit more meetings. In Agile, engineers have a showcase, usually in each sprint, and they show off what they've been working on that sprint. And usually stakeholders are invited and other people are invited, and it's like, ooh, look what we've been working on. I think UX should have their own showcase. And if you're doing Agile and there are sprints, then every 2 weeks, UX can hold a half-hour meeting and say, here's what we've been working on the last 2 weeks. Look at this amazing stuff that we've done and things that we've learned and something that was going wrong, but hey, we fixed it, and isn't it great? We found that before engineering built it and put it out to the public. And so I do like the idea of UX having their own showcase and inviting all the usual peeps to it and showing them what we do. Ray says, do you have any thoughts when people think that market research is user research and it counts as being task-oriented? Yeah, I've seen a couple of people pop up at conferences lately who seem really on fire to tell everybody that market research is user research. And my thought on that tends to be, depends how you do it. If your market research is sending out some surveys, then that kind of doesn't match what I'm doing in my user-centered design process. If your market research looks like the way we plan, recruit, and screen, and schedule, and observe, and interview, and analyze, and synthesize, and boop, bop, a beep, then sure, maybe they are the same thing. Depends how you do it. Does that count as being task-oriented? Depends on what people do with this. I mean, great qualitative research is great no matter what people call it. But if it doesn't influence the product, if it doesn't influence the decisions made, if it doesn't influence product strategy, you're probably not task-oriented. So I have a slide I'm working on, but it's so goofy looking, I'm not going to share it. But basically the question is, what does UX research influence? If UX research influences UX design, that's great, but that's probably feature-oriented. If UX research influences product decisions and the product roadmap and product strategy and maybe even higher level strategy, depending upon how you're doing Agile, maybe you've got program or portfolio, that's more likely to be task-oriented, because now we're making sure that all of the decisions we make about what this is are informed and guided by what we learned in research. And hypothetically, people would go by what they found in the research. So that to me is the main difference. You want UX research everywhere, and I believe in tri-track Agile, where UX research is its own track. But the question is, what does it influence? And I think that also tells us the difference between task-oriented and feature-oriented. I10 says, I feel so bad when I invite people to meetings because they have so many unnecessary meetings. It's a universal problem, so many meetings. I agree. Larry says, also, a task-oriented approach includes directly related artifacts from start to finish. Yes, I was saying that earlier. The research connects to the task analysis, that connects to user roles, etc. Get them to agree on each step. So remember, you're also more likely to be task-oriented when everything that you're doing in the user-centered design process informs the next step or informs something that came later. If you're working on an empathy map and you never use that empathy map again, get rid of it. You don't need it. Let's see what else. Larry says, plan for a 30-minute meeting with a specific desired outcome. For example, do we need a decision or something like that? Madalena says, my kingdom for a task analysis course. Good news for you, Madalena. Larry and I are working on a book, and we have been all year, sadly, but at least it's always improving. As we would say in Italian, sempre meglio. And eventually, not only will it be a book about all of these things with concrete how-tos and things to look for, but of course, I intend to eventually turn it into a course. When will it be available? We're hoping the book could be out this year. I don't know at the rate we're going, but certainly next year because I know we are both very motivated to prioritize this. So I'm hoping that we will be able to keep working on the book. I know that I want to make it a lot longer. There's a lot more stuff we should be putting in there. So I think it's going to be a medium-sized book, shorter than Delta CX, but longer than my first book. So medium-sized book, and I do believe that it needs to go with maybe a video course or live training, but live training or video course where we can, teach people in a little bit different way. So, sempre, certo, sempre meglio. Larry says, I'm working on it all day today. Good. I hope you see some of now that it's in a Google Doc, I hope you see some of the things that I've been changing about it and where I'm hoping to go with it. But I am starting a new contract this week, y'all. Didn't take long for me to get snapped up again. So I am going to be working almost full-time through the end of the year. So that throws off a little bit of my book writing plans, but I promise I will still prioritize the book. It's very important to me, and we need it out there. I10 says, what? What to which thing? You're 40 seconds behind. Oh, congrats. Yeah, thank you, everybody. I'm going to be a lead UX researcher for another agency. Thank you. And I will be leading the team, including the designers, as well as doing some of the research work. So that will be nice. It's a 10-week contract, so that will kind of run me up pretty close to Christmas. So always nice to have work at the end of the year where traditionally I've had no work. So thank you, everybody. I'm happy to be to have something interesting to do. It's a really complex project, so that's always like a little scary but a little fun to have to learn a whole bunch of new complexities and a new domain. So yes, thank you. Wilson says they're lucky to have you. Thank you very much. Oh, explosion. Thank you, Ray. But I'm still going to make sure to stream 2 or 3 times a week, though again, with some of the courses I'm taking coming up, I may have to reschedule some of the time. So again, best thing for everybody, tell your friends, please subscribe and ring the bell so you know when I'm live, because through the end of the year, the times may be a little bit random. And also we're going to be changing clocks, and that's going to mess everything up because Europe changes clocks at different times than the rest of y'all. So yeah, just ring the bell, please, and then you'll know when I'm live. And if you miss something, remember it's always archived on YouTube and organized into the playlists. Thank you. I10 says, I'm not surprised you found a new job quickly. They're lucky to have you. Thank you. I am surprised because before the pandemic, it was actually very hard for me to find even contract work. I think the pandemic has opened that up a little bit. People are a little bit more accepting of remote work. But when I was living in San Francisco, the running joke with my then boyfriend was like, okay, you just had a contract job end. How long will it be to the next one? And I think the shortest amount of time I went unemployed was like 2 days. I just had a very good reputation in San Francisco, and people were always looking for me, and it was pretty easy for me to find work. And so like one time it took like 2 days to find a job. One time it took like a week. So, that was kind of funny back in the day. It helped me feel like I could say no to things because it was like, well, something will come along. It always does. And that's how I feel about most of you as well. Something will come along. It always does. I struggled with finding a job, and now look at her. Queen of the world. She did it. And Ray's got a new job. Wilson changed jobs recently. I think Madeleina's still at the same job, but Madeleina's got a new plan, and that's exciting. Who else is here? And I don't know what Betty's plan is, but Betty will make a plan, and then it will happen. Yeah. Yes, but I am going to be taking off about 2 weeks for the famous road trip. So if you are in northwestern Italy, France, eastern France, southern Netherlands, Luxembourg, southern Germany, or Switzerland, we're dropping by. Madalena says, I am changing jobs. Oh, okay, I didn't know. Congratulations. I-10 says, we should all get together and write a book about our job search. Oh, God. It would have to be like a drinking game, like, I get asked so many strange questions, really. I'm not immune from it just because I'm, twice your age, everybody. It's, no, I know you work in product, Madalena. That's cool. And we support you. So hopefully you're bringing good messages of good customer experiences to the product world who sometimes cares a little bit more about the business. Well, this has been a groovy chat. Thanks again for everybody tuning in. And let's see. Let's just check the schedule because the schedule is funky. Tomorrow is Office Hours Ask Us Anything with Darren and Dr. Nick. That is still happening. Wednesday is supposed to be Slack monthly networking. That will happen. I just don't know whether or not I'll be able to make it because of the new job. The new job is on American time zones. So when I'm normally doing my show is when I should be working. So we'll see. Friday will be reaction stream this week. So most things happening this week as planned. It's really next week that is not going to happen other than my early office hours on Tuesday, which is 10 a.m. my time. Everything else is going to have to be canceled. Too much going on. And then see everybody the week of the 25th. Lots going on there. So I'm going to play us out of here. Everybody be safe and careful. And remember distancing and masks. And I will catch you tomorrow at office hours. Thanks again. Bye. Customer centricity as business intelligence. Visit deltacx.com to learn why we are